Hello, are we recording? Hopefully. Seemed a bit slow. Sorry, hello folks. Yes, it's me again. I'm back again. I will try and keep this somewhat succinct, but I'm just going to talk and see how it goes. So, forewarned, if you decide not to sit and listen to my rambling, carry on. I've been trying to think of a title to put on this. I'll keep thinking about it, and hopefully it'll be something that'll at least give you some idea of what I'm going to mention. Maybe. I do tend to be a little bit cryptic, coy sometimes, whatever. I just hope to spark thought in you yourself rather than just telling you this is this. And in a way, that gives me a really nice segue into talking about stuff. This, if we can see it, this is a tomato plant. But how big is it? How big is this plant? I'm sure you're straight away already, your brain has brought you the answer in one way or another, even if it's a bit vague, generalised answer. It's like such and such size. It's as big as my head, if you include the pot and the roots in it and whatever. But yeah, I'm being deliberately sardonic. I'm not sure what the word for it is. It's not quite sarcastic. I'm trying to not be sarcastic. I'm trying to not set out to be ridiculing people for what they choose to believe in, if they choose to believe it. But been wanting to do this video for the past couple of days, but I've been busy doing other things. I've been out and about and whatever. You know what it's like, stuff to do. So it's quite late. Star date 001515062015. Ooh, a lot of 15s in that. But yeah, anyway, it's quite late. It's gone 12 o'clock. By the time I come to sit and turn on the computer and think, oh, I'll have a quick look and catch up, I tuned in to watch one thing simply because there was someone on there. I wanted to hear what he had to say about the subject, and it was quite interesting. It was a hangout that was not live at the time I tuned in, but anyway, get on with it. It's supposed to be being concise. I didn't listen to all of it, but I listened to a few sections of it, added up to about 45 minutes worth. And in the end, I just thought, right, I got to do this video, just get it done, because this is still ongoing. This whole situation, yes, to do with the flat Earth, and being the optimist that I am, I will say, hopefully, this will be the last time that I talk about this. But that is being idealistically optimistic, because I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Something else might come up and whatever, but never say never. But basically, I'm trying to get across the fact that I don't really want to get into this topic, because I think it's just deliberate time wasting. If you really want to, go for it, fill your boots, research into it, do your own experiments and stuff like that. Yeah, great, thank you. If you find some earth-shattering thing, put it out there, let others look at it and, digest the idea and see if they agree with you. You know the way it goes, Real science, being truly objective about trying to figure out what's going on. But anyway, yeah, the reason I said, how big is this? Because the one little section of the hangout I was hearing was the flat earthers' argument of why and I can't remember the guy's name now, the Greek guy that did the experiments with the two sticks, measuring the shadow at one place and then the shadow in another place, and measuring the difference in the angle so you could calculate the fact that there must be a curvature that causes that difference in the angles. Yeah. And the flat Earth's argument was, even though they were being very passive aggressive and subtly intellectually elitist in the way they were replying to present this argument, claiming that they can refute the two sticks argument, basically because, and I won't quote it verbatim, but basically his reply was, the two sticks argument or the two sticks experiment can be replicated on a flat Earth if the sun was smaller and if it was a lot closer to the Earth. Right, okay, that was where within the next minute or two I'd given up and clicked stop and felt, yeah, that's what brought me here. Again, I'm laughing in just joviality at how this can still be going on the way it is, and the fact that we have to go round and round it, and why over the last few days this has been bubbling up in my head to put down on video and put this out there, so hopefully it might help the situation in some way. I'm under no delusion that the arguments will stop. I'm under no delusion that the efforts to push this will stop. Maybe it'll fade out soon, because I think it was very much in the way, but I'm now going to try and present. Yeah, if you don't, sorry, I know I'm doing my usual jumping about thing, trying to be concise. If you don't get why I was giggling the fact of when he said, you know, we can replicate that experiment if. This is a real problem of logic, which when the people themselves presenting the argument that claim that they were constantly trying to reiterate how intelligent they were and how logical they were and all this kind of stuff, and yet they don't seem to be able to comprehend the fallacy. That's not really a claim of proof, mate, if you have to change reality to make it fit your proof. That's confirmation bias and, you know, all other kind of problems to do with your experimentation. Because I can claim that this tomato plant is the size of a house if the house was really small, and if the house was like just here on the pot with the plant. Yeah. Do you see the problem there? Now, I know for those people who would be very adhered to this kind of flat earth argumentation, they would then go into a process of trying to present to you further argumentation or evidence to show that what we currently accept as scientific knowledge about how big the sun is and how far away it is from the planet Earth is not true, or has been manipulated, falsified, whatever. Yeah. So therefore that confirms their claim that if it was closer, if it was smaller, etc., etc. Now, as I mentioned, you know, if you want to research into this, you go for it, fill your boots, but you will expend a hell of a lot of time of it and energy because of that problem of that connectivity of, well, if they lied to us about this, then they could have lied to us about that. For example, the sun being a lot smaller and closer. So we've got to recheck that now. We've got to find experimental ways or logical reasoning ways to calculate, well, is it actually such and such size, and is it actually that far away, etc. For myself, I feel confident enough that there are enough different ways that this kind of information has been checked and validated in one way or another, that even though, you know, I am no proponent of NASA in the sense of them being totally straight up, honest and believable every time, it's pure scientific fact, but it's not. It's politically manipulated to the nth degree. So, you know, the phrase NASA stands for never a straight answer is helpful when you come to look at their information. But there are many other ways that this kind of scientific data can be validated, correlated. You know, measuring the differences in solar radiation, the amounts that hit the planet gives you an indication of the size of our planet compared to the source of where this radiation is coming from. You know, compare the size of the planet Earth to the size of the sun. You know, if it was only this close, then it would be, yeah. I'm putting myself in a position where I would have to end up going into lots of scientific data about, yeah, whatever. I don't feel a need to. I personally feel that there is enough other ways to validate whether this is a globe or not, including how far the sun is away and from us and stuff like that, that I don't feel any need to go back to, because I've done this in the past, go back to looking at the possibility of there being such a gargantuan conspiracy to cover up the Earth being a different shape than a globe. So anyway, sorry, I'm trying to be concise, but I have the opportunity to ramble, so bear with me. The reason I wanted to do this particular video, that was just one quick explanation of why the logic of their claim to disprove the shadow experiment is in itself illogical or problematic. It's not good reasoning. Now, I know I said this in one way or another quite a long time ago, weeks ago, months ago probably even, because I was one of the, I say one of the first people, I don't want to try and claim I was the first person to say this or whatever, but I know in amongst the group of people that I'm generally doing the hangouts with and whatever, I know I was the first person to bring it up, was pointing out that this flat earth theory appeared on the scene quite recently, and I say appeared on the scene in respect to a saturation onto the social media sphere in the kind of environments where the kind of topics that I talk about that you're probably interested in, if you've watched the video this far, you're interested in. This meme was injected into that environment not too long ago, re-injected, pushed up to the surface, because the flat earth idea is, as old as we are. But it re-emerged very recently. I said that this smells, because of the way it was propagated and the way it spread virally, and it becomes such a bone of contention almost straight away of it spreading. Everybody piled on. Now, I shouldn't say everybody. A large number of people got drawn into this. That to me smells of a psyop, because it's been put out there deliberately. This is not an event that has occurred in reality that has caused people to go, oh, what's happened there? Let's try and figure out what's happened there. Let's talk about what might have happened. Is it a hoax? Is it a false flag? Is it a natural disaster? Is it this? Is it that? Let's look at the evidence. Let's look at the arguments. No, it wasn't. It would just sort of come up. Yeah, it just sort of, all of a sudden, there was all these videos popping up on YouTube and all this stuff being posted about the biggest lie ever, the world is actually flat. That is not the way the social media, the internet naturally, organically works. It doesn't. I'm sorry, I feel it doesn't. I've been here. It may sound a bit like an appeal to authority, whatever. For me, from my perspective on looking at and interacting with this stuff, this kind of theory doesn't tend to come up in this fashion, in such a massive wave, in this way. So that made me think this smells a bit of a psyop or some kind of manipulation. Something's going on here. The more I've thought about it and the more I've watched the fallout of this going on, as people have subdivided into camps, and those camps in a degree of scale to the extreme are hardcore on one side or the other, and they may be attacking each other in one way or another. As you get towards the middle ground, you get the people that are actually having debate about it, but they're still there debating about it. So it's got people getting onto this topic and spending time and energy researching it and then arguing about it. And as I say, in that degrees of scale, some of that ends up as being outright attacking each other, trolling each other, whatever. very good effect of cause distraction. Other stuff going on in the world, get them talking about the flat earth theory, yeah? I mentioned quite a while ago, in a hangout, that in the Illuminati card game, which was released many years ago, there is an actual flat earthers card. And the card is meant to be used in that kind of way, as a sort of distraction. It's a kind of delaying tactic card against your opponent. I went back and read it, had a look at it, and it's like when you play it, you get to take cards, like more cards than you should have within that turn, because your opponent is sort of distracted and delayed, so you get to take more cards out of the deck, kind of thing. Now, that got me thinking a little. I think that gave me the spark or kernel of beginning this thought process of thinking, well, what exactly would be the purpose of putting this kind of thing out there? And I heard other people talking about how why would the agencies want to get us to question whether the earth is flat or not? Because if we start questioning that, then we might realise that NASA's lying to us. Oh, they wouldn't want us to know that NASA is lying to us. That again is such a failure of logic. It's like, there's such a jump, a non sequitur jump. It's like, okay, mate, whatever. There's lots of reasons why they would want that effect, and there's lots of reasons why they would not expect the vast majority of the public to all of a sudden go, oh, NASA's lying to us, bring down the governments, revolution. It wouldn't happen, because they know the vast majority of the public are too busy watching celebrity crap on the telly box. They don't care about these crazy people on the internet that look at these crazy theories or not. That was part of it as well. Cause division by getting people to take up a camp one side or the other, and to make them look like crazies. You know, the usual crazy brush, like the deliberately constructed, derogatory mental manipulation that is the terminology conspiracy theorist. In the same way, you can now go, oh, you're a flat earther. You know, and it's got that same kind of very derogatory and negative connotation, so that thought is instantly shut down. It's a thought police doorway, gateway. And when people get pulled into that kind of attitude of it, it is literally like the system, the engineers of this manipulation have locked and shut that door for you. Quite happy. It's like a magic incantation to shut down the thought process in the person who's trying to tell you something or talk to you about something. And it's like, oh, you're just a flat earther. Don't have to think anymore. Stare at TV. It's that kind of process anyway. So, to cause division, to enable an environment where they can more readily go, oh look, these people believe in this kind of crazy stuff on the internet, and oh look, they're also talking about what's happening in politics. So if they believe crazy theories like this, then what they're saying about politics must also be crazy. Okay, public? So you don't need to worry about those folks over there that are shouting about paedophiles in Parliament, because they talk about flat earth. Yeah, and from my own point of view, that's no validation of the flat earth theory. That's just talking about this environment that's been created. In that polarizing of people as well, that steering of people to choose a side, the pseudo gang effect of, you will pick a side and fight. We will make you pick a side and fight. It exposes people's inclination to one side or the other of the usual manipulation, deliberate misdirection of separating science and faith. Yeah, some people will, for whatever their choice, wholeheartedly believe this. I could say it's like exposing people's propensity to religiosity. In other words, if somebody gives you some bits of information that fools you. For example, like the failures of logic of like the if the sun was smaller, if it was closer, blah blah blah. Um, and you take that and you go, right, okay, yeah, I know enough. I believe, and you then join one side. This can work either direction in this talking about this situation. You join one side or the other, and you then start attacking the people on the other side. Depending on how far you take that to an extremist polarization, could be a way to categorize your propensity towards science or faith, science or religiosity, experimental, factual, empirical data, or revealed knowledge. Yeah. If you're inclined to believe a literal translation of the Bible, then you believe the Earth is only so many thousand years old, 6,000 years old, something like that. This kind of information about you is very relevant for the system, for the surveillance state. Yeah? Now, at the same time, and people please allow this to sink in, take a breath and don't take offence at me saying this because I'll try to not be intellectually elitist. It gives them a way as well to gauge your intellectual abilities. Are you able to reason for yourself? Are you able to think through and maybe even go to the extent of actually construct and carry out some form of experimentation to check, to look at the information that you want to know about? That gives them an idea of the people out there on the internet who are willing to put themselves out there to the degree that other people come and look at their media, whether it be written or video, whatever. Yeah? Are you the kind of person who has enough energy and drive, or maybe you do it for a living, you do it to earn money? Are you in a position where you get that kind of attention from the public? And are you a follower or a leader? Are you intellectually capable and independent enough to be able to say, no, I'm not just going to take what somebody else has told me and just accept it from their mouth, like a leader to a follower. I want to check this out for myself. I want to research into it for myself. I want to experiment for myself, etc. Are you able to do that? This is why I said about categorizing you. I can see this being performed as like a litmus test to gauge who are the leaders and the followers out there amongst this conspiracy crowd, amongst this truth movement community. Who are the ones that are likely to just stand on a podium and preach and get people in a very religious kind of way to just follow them? Yeah. No matter what they say, even if they tell them the world is flat, they'll still follow them. They need the controlling agencies need to know that information, because then they can categorize you. How much of a threat are you? How likely are you to be able to create any kind of social movement that could genuinely cause them a problem? Yeah, they might need to put more funding your direction to deal with you in one way or another. Yeah, little flags that get added on. At the same time, it can be used in general personality profiling. Basically, it can get a gauge of your a rough IQ quotient in one way or another. In a way, your ability to think logically, reason for yourself, using that kind of scientific data, empiricism kind of information, but also the metaphysical aspect of pure logic and reasoning, etc. How capable are you at doing that? And is the likelihood of you having some kind of mental instability comes along with all this as well? Yeah. So personality profiling, marking up the leaders and followers, categorizing them, grading them basically in one way or another, causing division and causing a quagmire effect of people dividing into camps and arguing over this rather than looking at what else is going on, etc. And also, even if you're not drawn into that one side or the other pseudo gang argument situation, you're sucked in the, oh well, I'm not sure, so I better check, which means you spend hours and hours or longer doing research or doing experiments and stuff like that. So if considering what is currently happening on this planet and what is currently going on in our societies and what they are trying to do with us, and how this medium, this communication medium that is so amazingly valuable to us, is being controlled and manipulated, etc. Control is a strong word. I don't want people to be under the impression that I think it's 100% controlled to your detriment and that kind of stuff. It's not. It's manipulated. It's heavily manipulated. By controlling your perception, they control your environment or your perceived environment, and therefore control a lot of what you do. Not everything. They ain't quite perfected the ability to control everything about you yet. But you give them the opportunity and they'll keep doing it. And by giving them this kind of information that comes along with being sucked in by this kind of argument, that helps them a lot. I've probably helped them a fair bit in doing personality profiling on me. I know they've got a fair amount of personality. I see enough effects on my internet usage. I'm not trying to imply that I'm hacked or anything like that. I just know the way the Google beast uses its logarithmic profiling. You know, it's got a lot of info on me already, thank you very much. I can tell just by the way it puts certain things in front of me and stuff like that. Whatever. Yeah, I think if you're here and you've listened to me for this long, I'm sorry it took me a while to get to the main point, but yeah. I'm not trying to tell people, you're not supposed to look at this, etc. You can if you want to, but please think of it from the point of view, or try to stick to the adage of Occam's razor. If you get to the point where you feel confident enough in one side or the other, whatever you choose, do that. But don't let this ancient argument distract you from what's going on now and where they're trying to push us to, because that's what they're doing with this shit, man. It's like, oh, they're finding out too much info about what we're getting away with and all the criminal acts we're doing. Oh, quick, throw in the flat earthers card, get them arguing about that. Yeah. If it's a flat earth or if it's a globe, what difference is going to make to the fact that they're still going to be wanting you to take part in their slavery system? It's as simple as that. If what you learn from whether it is or isn't one or the other, flat or round, spherical, so if what you learn from that helps you escape or deal with or to change this slavery system, great. But I personally, I don't feel that I would learn anything in that way, therefore I'm going to carry on. I'm sailing on towards the horizon. You never know, you might see me go over the edge. If I see a giant turtle, I'll try and see what sex it is, okay? How I'll let you know, I don't know. I'll have to take a carrier pigeon with me or something. Anyway, folks, this video is more than long enough, sorry. It's late. Thank you very much. If you watched this far, take it easy, guys. I'll rant at you again soon.